We are live, and it is going to be worth the wait to be here to catch this. If you didn't see the little glitch, don't worry. We're here now. You will find us. We are here. I am Lainey Savante Wolkin. Welcome, blessings. Thank you so much for being here wherever you are in the world. We have another iconic interview tonight with this amazing man, Marius Michael George. I've known him for a very long time, and I'm only going to give a quick little bit of his bio. For those of you who are new to learning about this master, he is a classically trained visionary artist and a teacher, and really specializes in sacred art like I know of no other. He creates images that become portals into other realms and invites the viewer to participate in a spiritual experience, no question. His original paintings and murals are found in public and private collections across North America, South America, Europe, all over the world, published internationally. You've probably seen them on tarot cards, oral cards. Marius Michael George is here. I'm so grateful.
Thank you for having me.
Wow, you do. Go
After all
ahead.
these years, it's been a while.
I realized,
Yeah.
do you remember 2009, 2012 Quantum Leap?
Wow.
So that was 12 years ago. And I remember you saying to me, you gave me a signed Mother Mary. I still have it in my healing studio. But I remember you saying at that time you had not really come out and done any event like that. And I suspect between then and now you don't do a whole lot of interviews too. Is that right? Or how to
Interviews
keep it?
very rarely, very rarely. Um,
Yeah.
and shows for a while, festivals, but interviews, no.
Well,
Uh, but
not so much.
this is it.
Well, this isn't. Yeah, I'm taking it. I'm taking it in. I receive it, and I'm grateful. I felt I felt that it would be great for people to know, especially at this time, who really need to look for a higher source, a higher opportunity to awaken, and they need the tools to do that. And you've been providing those to the world for a very long time. So it's appropriate your interview is now. I liked your Joan of Arc, by the way, which is brand new. Is that one of your newest?
Thank you, thank you. It's not really new. I painted that maybe 3, 4 years ago, and I did it for a client that wanted something more historical, traditional, a little bit out of my range of
Yeah.
style. So for all these years, I was like, technically, it's a good painting, but not really matching everything else that I did. So I kept it hidden for a while. So a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine visited, and I showed him some artwork, and we ran into this Joan of Arc, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is the best painting." Of course.
Well, sensational. That would
So
have been one of my questions for you is you you are obviously known for painting our saints, our archangels, our ascended masters. And I wondered if you had ever, other than the Joan of Arc, that was one of my questions was, do you paint anybody who are physically embodied on the planet? Is that something that you do publicly or you stay in the higher realms?
I do a lot of commission work for portraits. Um, how do they call it? We call those um,
Commi- the commissions of,
commission soul portraits. Yeah,
yeah,
soul portraits.
self, interesting.
So it's somewhat a mix between a real portrait, like face to face, as we are right now,
Yeah.
and taking this vision to another level where I tune into other things in your world as much as I can and come up with a more complex image of you being more of the bigger picture of you, right? And of course, different people want specific things. So you may think you're an angel that came here to just inspire people or do some specific work, but you know you're an angel. So you would want this portrait to make you look like an angel so you remember who you are. And every time you pass by this painting in your house, you're like, okay, now I know why I'm here. I know where I'm coming from. That's kind of what some
You,
people want. So, um,
yes, I would like one of those, please. We'll have to talk about that.
absolutely.
Um, I've really admired your work. Of course, many people have admired your work. Is this something that you came in with? Is this something you've been doing from the beginning of you can remember, or did you have well before you brought in the higher realms and all these sacred beings? Were you painting something else when you were younger, or how did it come to be?
I always knew I'm going to be an artist since I was very little. But of course, living in this world, especially for a child, for me, it was very confusing. Even though I knew that, I was attracted to different other things, and teachers and parents would tell me, you want to go this way, and you should go this way, and so. But this core vision stayed with me since I was a child. I knew I'm going to be an artist. So
You grew
step.
up in Bucharest? You grew up in Romania, or where did you grow up?
I grew up in Eastern Europe in Romania. Yes.
My grandparents on my grandpa Romanian,
Really?
grandma Russian. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So Romanian and Russian.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Welcome. Wow.
Yeah.
We're
Part of
family.
the family.
Wow. Wow. I would have never thought that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, in
So
those days, Romania was a communist country, so totally different scene.
yeah.
But I grew up in a very supportive family. My mother was an artist herself and a writer. And
Marius, you might need to get a little closer to the computer just because I want to hear you better
okay,
for the audience. Okay, great.
my mother was somewhat of an artist. She had a function working for a government agents, agency or publishing company, doing something that we would call an art director, I guess, somewhat like that. She would
Okay.
hire artists to do different things, and she would organize festivals also and publish books. And since I was very little, she encouraged me to go this way, and she wanted to give me confidence in being able to become like a pro in this field. So when I was 14, 15, and I wanted a new bike, for example, instead of her giving me money to buy a new bike or her buying me a new bike, she would give me a job to do a book cover. And she would take me step by step into the process or get
Wow.
together with some pro that's a good artist that would give me pointers. So I would end up creating a book cover, getting paid, and that was actually amazing for a child to be able to do
Of
that.
course.
But so it went on and on like that. I went to a high school that was a high school just for art,
Okay.
an art high school, and I got some pretty good training there based on how um, well what the general cultural standards for art were in Romania in those days. And art was very to me was representing the vibe in those times, which was a massive gray, depressing uh, imagery that was not inspiring for me. So anyway, after a while, I decided when I was about 20, 21, I decided that I couldn't see any future for me in England. So I decided to leave, to go to the West. I wanted to go to Paris and study classical art and develop as an artist. And I was very attracted to spirituality, even though spirituality was kind of zero happening
Still
in
in
that
your 20s.
communist environment. But the generation of my grandparents were still connected with, you know, the church, basically. And
Sure.
my grandma used to take me to the mass. She was a Catholic. Those were very amazing moments for me as a child to enter these realms of, there is a certain vibe in a church that it's so different than being out in the street and in normal life.
Yeah.
I remember
Yes.
just stepping through the doors and looking at the altar and the icons and that whole environment. And uh, Catholic churches are very ornate and decorated.
Yes.
Very beautiful. So I was like, this is the vibe that I put in my
So
work.
were those some of your first figures, like Jesus and Mother Mary?
Yes, I painted. Yeah, I painted those figures quite a bit in my early years. And anyway, after I was able to escape from Romania, I tried escaping, running over the border. I got caught, put in jail, brought back, and anyway, I ended up with a passport after a while, and um, I'm gonna put this in a nutshell, in a nutshell, in a nutshell because it's.
Okay.
But I ended up in Rome after a while, after a lot of adventures, and I ended up painting images of Jesus, saints, Mother Mary on the sidewalk with chalk.
Oh,
I don't know if you saw stuff like that, but
no. I mean, I have modern, I mean, I've seen things on Facebook, but I mean, do you have pictures of those? Your
I,
things
wi-
from
I,
your original time?
I wish I had. No, no.
Oh, wow.
Actually, right before this interview, I looked to my photographs to see if I can show you some of the older works, and I found some stuff, but not those paintings on the sidewalk in Rome. Uh,
Wow.
that's how I
That's
started
pretty.
making some money because I was a refugee uh,
Yeah.
without any visa. I entered illegally to Italy, and anyway,
Do
that's
people think you're Italian?
visually yes, but
Yeah.
I couldn't speak Italian right away. But Italian and Romanian are very similar, so
Yeah.
it took me about 3 weeks to be able to somewhat communicate. So yeah, I spent about 6 months or 9 months in Italy, in Rome. Um,
Which is also very Catholic. So what point did you kind of start to awaken to ascended masters and
it was
all the other beings that you started to bring in? I mean,
way,
wow.
way later.
Way
Uh,
later. Wow. Okay.
First, I went through um, a lot of training
Hmm.
because what I learned in that high school, art school in Romania, was just barely scratching the surface. And uh, the most major event that took me in this direction of painting what I'm painting these days was one spiritual retreat that I went to in Malibu um, very soon after I came to the US. And that opened, it was like a 6 month retreat in. an ashram kind of environment. And I learned so much, and my vision about what I want to do with my artwork started gelling during those times. And
Mm. Have you
maybe
spent a lot of time in India?
no, I didn't. I never made it to India. Actually, after my first year in the U.S., I was so disappointed with the artwork, the whole scene, and everything was so like not working. And I put all my savings in a ticket to India, actually, and some bunch of cash that I had as pocket money. So anyway, at the airport, they didn't let me. I only had a duffel bag with me. My all my belongings were in a duffel bag, and all my money there. So at the airport, they didn't let me take that duffel bag with me in the airplane, and it was like a moment of like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? So I had to give them my duffel bag, but all my money were there, and the only thing that was closing that bag was a zipper. So when I ended up in Brussels, in Belgium, to change planes, I looked for my money and it was gone. So I had zero money to go anywhere. So I ended up visiting my family in Germany, going back to Romania, spending time there, and then I came back to the US, and then I was like kissing the ground. Oh my God, this is it. I have to just make it work.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day when things are healthier and happier and
Yeah.
more accessible. Wow, India's really going through it right now. My heart just, whew,
Mm,
heavy for them right now.
yeah. Anyway, so back in New York City, that's where I landed. Um, the main scene in the art world was abstract expression.
Mhm.
Crazy stuff, especially with my vision of what I wanted to do and my background was like, wow. It took me a while but I realized, well, if you want to do art and go somewhere, you have to do what everybody does. So I started doing abstract expression for a
You
while.
start, say it again. It was hard to hear you. You started doing what?
I started doing abstract expressionism, which is I found a picture from way back just to show you
Oh, cool.
what kind of doodlings I was doing as a beginner artist in those days. Let's see. That,
Yeah.
those are a couple of my friends posing under the painting. I don't know if you can see.
I could see them. Are they laying? They're laying down, and that's all you did. That's all behind them. Your art.
So
Wow,
that's kind of what I was doing.
that's wild. What?
Huge paintings like floor to ceiling, uh,
Yeah.
just like that. Anyway, it didn't go anywhere. I tried to have a show and nobody wanted to put that up, even though the
Do you
artwork.
remember who your first archangel, or no, your first ascended master, who you painted first?
My first ascended master was Mother Mary. Yeah, and it looks like I see a stream. You said something about Mother Mary when I started.
I think you gave me a print that you
Okay,
signed
okay.
of Mother Mary. I have it in the office.
Right now, my most favorite painting and the most successful so far is the painting that I'm painting on that picture that I gave you from my studio with Mother Mary, the newer version.
Yes. Oh God, that is gorgeous. That's from well, people can see it on the advertisement for this interview.
Right. So maybe let's do a little story with this because it makes sense. Just to take it from one step to another, see an evolution of a story of how this painting come to be. You want to do that?
Yeah, I would love that.
So about Mother Mary, this was this was the first master that I. She's considered an ascended master. Of course, she's a lot more than that. But I was finishing this retreat in Malibu, right? And at the end of the retreat, everybody was encouraged to join this ashram, and become yogis and uh, learn the whole system and whatever. And I was torn between doing that or going back to New York City and do my artwork because now I had visions of, wow, I really knew where I want to go. And I was completely torn and I had to make a decision quickly because I had an airplane ticket that I was contemplating canceling. I have to let these people know if I want to join their group anyway. So a couple of days I was just sitting and meditating and nothing was coming. And one time before going to sleep in that twilight zone, before entering that sleep world, I had this journey, this kind of a vision that happened very realistically,
Hmm.
where the guru that was conducting this whole retreat called me, come to my office, I have a message for you. Okay. So um, in this is a vision, it's not real. But in this vision, I go to this person's office and I go in and she greeted me and smiled and she was sitting at a big desk. So from under the desk, she pulled this image, let's say like this, right?
Yeah.
Image, and it was Mother Mary. I recognized her. And then she was holding it like that, so all I could see was this print or painting of Mother Mary. But as I was looking at her, she became alive and she smiled. And then from behind my head, I heard this voice, beautiful, soft, loving voice. Go back to New York and learn classical art.
That
And
was
then
it.
everything just vanished. And I was back. Of course, hearing that message brought me back, like, oh, this is what I want to do. Anyway, so from that point, I saw how things lined up like bam, 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 one thing after another. I connected with this wonderful teacher of the art students league, Frank Mason, one
Hmm.
of the last real masters of classical art.
Hmm.
I was still teaching. So I studied with him for a few years in New York City. Then, uh, many years later, I went to Minneapolis to the School of Classical Realism that was put together by this other amazing master, Richard Black. Uh, and these two, in my opinion, were the best painters from the old school that were still alive. Frank Mason was more into Baroque, um,
Hmm.
Renaissance, somewhat freestyle type of painting, where even though it's very structured and there's a lot of technique and principles to keep in mind and learn, it was still a free-flowing kind of a thing, you know. If you look at Rubens's paintings, there is a spontaneous vibe that you probably can pick up there, as opposed to classical realism or neo-realism, which is very detailed, very photographic, which was the style of his other master in Minneapolis.
And how
So
would you describe your art for people who want? I know you say visionary art, but like, what is? How would you depict the beings that you paint? What kind of art would you? What? How is that classified?
somewhere in between these two,
Yeah.
but over the years, I took it to another level where I introduced digital tools in the whole project because these realms that I journey into and I want to picture in my artwork are best represented when you have access to special effects and stuff that it's only available as digital tools. So after I finish a painting as much as I can with oils and all these traditional tools, I scan it and I make it into a digital file and then I work on it digitally. Lately, that's pretty much. So
So can I ask you a question? When do you get the vision of or the guidance, the vision in meditation, who you're going to paint next, and then you paint it, or how is it unfolded for you? Well, okay, today it's I'm called to Lady Fortuna. Let's just say that. Or I mean, I can name any. I know all of your stuff, but yeah, has it been like, wow, I'm really called to bring forward, or she just comes in and you're like, that's who I'm painting next. I'm seeing her.
sometimes that happens where I have a specific vision and I just bring it down as much as I can based on the original vision. But many times, and most of the times, everything I do is commissioned by somebody or some publisher. So what starts me is someone's need for some artwork, and they may have some ideas about how the artwork should look like.
That makes sense. Can I pull one of those up? Because I know you've done a lot of oracle cards in tarot. Can I pull up one of the pictures you gave me? Yeah, let's just give people an example. Oh my gosh, there's so many beautiful ones. All right, let's look at this for a minute. Crystal Angels, Doreen Virtue. Wow.
That was a
Actually,
whole deck of 44 cards that I did
yeah,
a house.
yeah. I have your Ascended Masters one that you did with her. I mean, these are just absolutely stunning. So you incorporated the pictures of them with crystals.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite out of these? I couldn't even begin.
I actually have them here as prints so you can see them better. Yeah, this is my favorite right now.
That looks like Zeus. Who is this? Who
This
is
is
that?
this is Helios, the god of,
Helios, goddess of the sun.
and also the god of gold, because gold is crystallized sunlight. That's what they say in the esoteric teachings.
Where is that one? Is that new or that's part of a
From that,
oh, it's
this,
from that deck.
this
Yeah.
one. And
Which are hard to come by these days.
yes, they're out of print and very expensive to buy. This is another one that I
Oh yeah.
considered a favorite.
Mm-hmm. Which one is this one?
This is the Fluoride Crystal.
Wow.
So symbolically, it's about yin and yang, masculine and feminine, perfect balance.
You know, I created an oracle deck, Marius. Do you know this?
Did I?
Yeah.
I heard about it. Yes.
Yeah, food healing oracle deck. I'm going to send you a copy. You'll love it.
What? Yeah.
About the consciousness of food and how Mother Nature has channeled what we really need from the divine natural world to keep our temple high vibe. Yeah,
What
I think you might like it.
work do you have there?
It's photography,
Oh,
photography of different fruits, vegetables, herbs, and spices.
nice.
I would love to have a deck one day that would bless us with your work. But right now we're focusing on foods. But as you know, we taught a class on the Ascendant. We featured your artwork when we talk about Ascended Masters and Archangels and their relationship to food, like Archangel Michael and the blue ray of light, and we incorporate all that into blue foods and what days of the week. So
Good.
we honored you in such in a way that you deserve to be, but to letting people know when they visualize this blueberry, they need to look at your artwork. And it all goes together, but it all goes together because it's all connected, right?
I just had some blueberries this morning.
See?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
I would love, yeah, I'd love to send you a deck to see what you think of it. How long does a typical painting take to paint? Is it something like you think about and go back to, think about and go back to, or is it like you just know it comes in and you get it done from the
Every
finish?
painting is different. Sometimes it comes in and it's very quick, the whole process. Sometimes it takes years, like this painting.
Oh, is that Shambhala?
This is Shambhala.
Oh,
Uh,
that's one of my favorites.
this painting took me about 4 years to finish.
Did it really?
Thank God for these people that commissioned. They were patient with me. But it was such a complex composition with architecture and about 200 figures and landscape. And my brain was just not wired for that kind of complexity right away. So it
Yeah.
took me a long time. So, but it can happen very quickly too, especially if I do mostly digital um, work. That's a much faster.
Do you have your own gallery, or you are obvious? I know that your artwork's in many galleries, but do you have your own specific Marius gallery?
Yeah, it's right here outside of the house. Which is my own my
Are you
studio.
in? Yeah, I remember. I used to, I lived in California. I used to go to Mount Shasta quite a bit. I used to go look for the inner worlds,
Mm,
see if
mm.
I could find those underground cities.
I used to have a
Um,
gallery in Mount Shasta
okay,
for years, but not anymore.
yeah.
My only gallery right now is my studio.
Hmm.
Anybody wants to see artwork, they just come here and I show them.
You did a Lady Nada one, didn't you? Lady Nada?
No, not yet.
You didn't do a Lady Nada? Maybe you need to do one, a Lady Nada.
I see.
Maybe that. Yes, I'm a fan of hers. So is painting pretty much the majority of your time? Or are you finding other activities? I already know the answer, but I would love to share your other world of um, that I love, which is kirtan.
Oh, yes. Well, I do spend a lot of time on sacred music.
So are you an artist in terms of are you a singer or what instruments do you play?
I play these Indian drums. Can you see that?
Oh yeah, I see him now. Okay, yeah, of course.
Tabla drums. That's
Yeah.
pretty much what I do with kirtan. I don't sing. I sing, but only when I'm alone. But
Have
when
you
I
painted any of the deities and the Murtis? Have you painted Hanuman or Ganesh or oh my God, so many. Saraswati? I can imagine what you would do with those.
it's coming, it's coming. I only painted Babaji. But as you ask me what other things I do in life, even more than art and music, what I usually do is yoga, meditation, and spending a lot of time in samadhi bliss. That's pretty much most of my life. Um, hours and hours and hours every day. But
I know you watched that interview with Dr. Gabriel Cousins, and at one point
I
he
love it.
you did you I read his book is incredible, and at one point he was meditating 6 hours a day.
How about
Wow.
12, 24 or more? Yeah, that was really beautiful, and I liked how you brought out of him all this stuff. I follow. I'm really a fan of him. He's an amazing doctor, and I didn't even know much about his spiritual life.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
that interview is so beautiful, and he's so happy, and he looks so good for his age. My God. Yeah,
yeah, so vital. Well,
yeah.
you look great. I don't even know how old you are, but you look great.
I just turned 21. Yes, yesterday was my birthday. I'm an adult.
You're an old soul. Look what you're creating at 21. I want the tapestry back there. Yeah, no, that was a good interview. And I think talking about meditation and you bringing it up, and I record a lot of meditations, and the subject of meditation comes up so often. And I think this last year with COVID has given people some time to do some thinking too. Have you ever considered do you do any writing, like anything that comes in meditation, or it's just for your own understanding and enlightenment? Because you're so expressive artistically, I just wondered through words if that's ever been something that you've considered. Not so much.
You can probably tell right now that I'm not very polished about words, but and writing. I take notes, and what happens in my meditations is pretty much the foundation of what I then art. I actually finish paintings in a meditation for it. Aside from having the vision, then during some meditations, I spend hours and hours creating the painting in my mind.
Yeah.
How to do it, it's just like downloading something that's already figured out. Or anything else, directions in life. Uh, it's usually,
I was looking at Kristen. I actually know who this wonderful being is. She says, I feel the Ascended Masters deck has a higher vibe than many decks. So often the creator's energy gets into the art. Well, I think you could agree. I mean, you can walk into a room and the energy that comes off your paintings.
wonderful compliment. What was her name?
Her name is Kristen. She's actually a wonderful healer here in Florida.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, I like that.
I agree with her. Yeah, there's something to be said about the energetics of how, I mean, it's the translation of emitting that energy when they walk into a room and see your art.
Well,
It's as
what?
much as feeling a crystal or anything else that is emitting the frequency of that being
Yeah,
that comes from you, through you.
basically, yeah, that's what I put into my painting. It's my bliss. joy. It's such a treat to be able to sit and play with colors and shapes all day. And it's interactive in a way because these beings are real, and there is a state of consciousness where, during the process of creating a painting that represents being from another dimension, there is an interaction, even though it's not words or concepts the way we communicate. Um,
There's an understanding.
right, and all that goes into the painting.
Hmm.
But more than anything else, for me, it's a very blissful, ecstatic state. So,
As someone who's a fan of your art, when I see your art and I see the beings that you create, their message of who they are energetically, their blueprint, their signature is
mhm,
right there in the picture. You don't even have to, you could just stand there and kind of get the download if you're awakened to that sense
mm,
that that is what your art is able to convey. Is like you're already getting the okay, this is the 411. This is what Baba G, Raphael, whomever,
mm,
you have so many. Sanat Kumar. I mean, anyways, you already Metatron. You get you get what's happening, who they are. Like you said, they're alive. They're speaking to you. I mean, and that's profound. I mean, that is such a service for humanity.
thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful to hear that.
Yeah. I know more people would attest to that. So it's really an amazing service that Spirit brought you in to do. What is your next painting? Anything that you're working on that you can share that's coming? Oh, you mentioned maybe something in the Hindu world.
Oh, that's gonna come at some point. I don't know when. I would love to create some Hindu imagery because I'm so much into
The
that.
same.
Um, but right now, I'm working on a huge project, another one of these 44 paintings for a Oracle card deck.
An oracle deck?
Mhm. So it's been over a year since I'm working on them. I'm very close to finalizing the compositions, and maybe I have another 2 months or so before I can give it to the publisher and have it.
Do you sell the originals after you're completed with a project?
Mhm. Yeah. I make
I want to
them.
go
I
ahead.
make them into prints, cards, large reproductions. I pulled out some of these large. Do you want to see some large canvases?
I would love to. Is that Saint Germain back there?
That there, yes, that is Saint Germain.
Yeah.
These two
One of,
are the
one of
Venus
my favorite.
and Sanat Kumar.
I just
But
mentioned.
let me show you some of these.
I love this. In the studio with Marius. How
And
often do people get to look behind the scenes right into someone's studio? This is wonderful.
let me see this guy. Is it working? Can you see?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That helps with the light.
Okay. All right. That is Mother Mary. That is actually The closest I was able to get to that image that I saw originally during that retreat,
Mm-hmm.
and it's my favorite painting so far. I also did this many years ago, but that one, this new one, it's another level. So these are
Absolutely breathtaking, says Tamara, another amazing being. She's saying, here, I'll put it up for you. Absolutely breathtaking, she says. She took the Archangels class, so she knew all about you.
oh, wonderful.
She's saying absolutely breathtaking. She's a great being. You sent me another picture. I'm going to just put it on screen. Kind of, how's that?
Yes, okay.
Oh, it's interesting. You said something on, it was on your website about the pictures look the same, or what was the question someone asked you? And you said something about twins. I wanted to kind of explore that.
About what?
It said something like, "Oh, are the pictures similar?" And you said, "Well, I'd have to go back and look at the question. It was on your
Oh,
website."
I remember on my
You
bio.
do? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The idea was that yeah, someone asked me why most of my angels look like the archangels. I think that person was referring to the archangels.
Okay,
And
the
I think,
archangels.
why are they so much looking like twins? The features, the facial features.
Yeah,
Uh, what I answered was that the way I see them, that's how they are. In those realms, there's not so much difference in facial um, proportions and in, particular expressions and everything, like we have here in physical life.
yeah.
There is at least for me, and I imagine for anybody that comes from this dimension looking into other dimensions, there is a beauty that is, it looks pretty much even from, from being to being. What
I was,
makes them
I was trying to think of the word homogeneous, almost like everything's kind of the same because it's just the energy. Yeah.
like, and there is a divine beauty that's based on somewhat perfect symmetry. Uh, there is a geometry of features that it's similar to a lot of these things. At least for me, that's and I only um,
But they're very distinct with their colors, the rays of light.
and then all the symbols and the garments and the things that identify Archangel Michael being Archangel Michael as opposed to another archangel that represents a different color, a different sets of symbols. Michael has a sword usually, right? And he's more like a warrior angel.
Yeah.
Others have other uh, symbols that they recognize by. So, and excuse my English because I'm still I'm still not totally fluent with English, and especially being in an interview and having to translate. You
It's
know,
fine. I follow you and I'm just kind of helping to re-explain because I think it's easier for you because of that I could just throw out the word and I know now that I'm with you.
very good.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to, as we kind of finish up, anything that you would want people to know about you or about the saints or the angels or the masters? Anything that would be a good message and an inspiration for people who love your work and love if they had a reading with someone and Metatron came in and they've never even heard, or they're probably showing your painting in some way, whether it's a card or a print, or they've gone to mariusfineart.com, or
Mm.
you really are being a teacher. Is there anything that maybe the teacher and that you would want to share? Anything, any message, just to finalize?
Sure. Well, these beings are real. That's something that I would like to underline more than anything else. They're real beings, and if someone wants to connect with any of these beings, one good step would be to find an image of this being that they uh, like,
Yeah,
resonate with,
resonate with. Yes.
and spend time meditating with that image in the beginning.
Hmm.
Maybe, hours of sitting and looking at a painting and analyzing, okay, these eyes, I like these eyes, I, the mouth is so and so, I like this body. And then you go deeper and deeper. And if you sit long enough with such being, that painting can turn into a portal into another dimension where this being shows you their reality and their being as real beings. At least that's my experience, but I think anybody can have that experience. But that would be a good step for someone that
That's wonderful.
enter this world. There's many other ways to do it, but since we're talking about paintings,
No, and when I'm in that um, class that I teach with the Ascended Masters, I focus a lot on the Relia Jones book, or
mm,
the Seven Sacred Flames.
really,
That really takes people. I think that's really wonderful advice, and I think for you to say that they're real is very important for people who wonder. What's really real is what you can't see, but you're bringing that ability to see into reality, making it tangible, making it real. And I think that's really important.
mm,
I don't know if people know as much about ascended masters as they do angels or archangels. I think that's, I think more people are starting to understand what that means.
and it's so much info available these days about
I
all
want to
this.
show just a couple more pictures before we end here that you sent me. Ah,
Mm,
how long ago are these ones you did a while back? I think so. These came from some of them from.
yes, these are probably painted. Um, the latest ones are probably from about 4 years ago. I have some newer masters that I do.
Mm-hmm. That's the one I have, actually. I have Mary Magdalene. That's the one you gave me.
Okay, okay,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
wonderful.
All right. Do you ever teach art classes? Can people learn to paint with you?
I do. I used to teach art classes on a regular basis. Not much in the last so many years, but I will start art classes again. I have so many requests. And once I finish this 44 paintings new collection, I will probably schedule some workshops, or I even want to do a retreat where, we go somewhere exotic and exciting and do art classes, but other things too, maybe music. Yeah,
Meditation, clean food, healings,
right, right. Medicine.
all that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we got to see each other 12 years ago in person.
Yeah.
There was, you were there, Rasuli, another great artist. It was just a wonderful event. For
Yeah.
those of you who don't remember, or you do remember, everyone thought 2012 so much was going to happen and the world was going to end. And we did an event. I produced an event in 2009 talking about what was going to happen in 3 years. And
Not
Marius Michael George was there.
not much happened in 2012, but look what we have now.
Right. No one saw that coming. But we all stayed in touch, and it's been so wonderful having you share your world. And I know you don't do a lot of interviews, so again, thank you for taking this time. And I
Thank you.
know that this will reach everyone who's supposed to see it and get to know you better, the master behind these arts of, iconic art, sacred iconic art.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank
Great.
you.
You
All
look
right.
nice.
So MariusFineArt.com. Marius Fine Art. I will be sharing all this info. Tamara wants to say she's in awe, Marius. I'm in awe. Thank you so much. And
Thank you
Kristen,
so much, Tamara.
yeah, and Kristen says, in my Buddhist practice, sometimes my teachers say an acknowledgement of all the enlightened ones and said and masters. Thank you, Kristen. Oh, it was great having them here with us. See, they found us even though we didn't get the first one going. We ended on a beautiful, enlightened note. All right, big hugs to you. I hope to see you again in person sooner than later.
Thank you. Much love and blessing to everybody.
Much love. Okay, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Share this far and wide. Lainey Savante Wolkin. We'll talk to you soon. Stay here, Marius.